Fatherlessness is the real inequality. We're going to dive into a video of Chris Williamson on Tucker Carlson talking about what's really wrong in this country, what's really going on in this modern age that is leaving men specifically really without purpose and without meaning, but it affects girls too, young women as well. So this is just a really good clip. I loved it. It really encapsulates very heavily what's going wrong. So before we dive into this video, quickly subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, and here we go.
Fatherlessness is the real inequality. There's this interesting story around sort of male sedation, but on the other side, so fatherlessness. So there was this really cool example used at Kruger National Park in South Africa. So there's a growing elephant population. It's too big and they need to get them out and transport them. There's a plan that gets devised to take elephants from one park to another. What they realized was in order to move them, they had to move them by helicopter. So they had to strap these elephants
Actually?
Yes. They had to strap them into harnesses and then move them by helicopter.
Just a little bit of context here. They've already been talking for several minutes about this fatherlessness issue, and then Chris dives into this example. So he's kind of setting the stage for us, the audience, to really understand why this is going to count. So just bear with it. It's about to make a lot of sense very quickly.
To take them from one national park to another. But the harnesses weren't able to take the huge bulls. They could take the mums and they could take the juveniles, but they couldn't take the bulls. So like, okay, well, no worries. We'll leave the bulls there and we'll take the mums and we'll take the juveniles and we'll move them to this new park. So they move them over to the new park. And then about a few weeks after this move is done, they find dead white rhinos around the park. And first off, they thought it was poachers. They assumed that it was poachers that had killed them, but there was no gunshot wounds. There was like puncture wounds and trample wounds on these rhinos. Then they decided, well, we'll set up CCTV to work out what's going on. It turned out that the juvenile elephants were just banding together and going around and killing other animals. They attacked tourists in the jeeps, and they also were causing all sorts of havoc and fighting each other as well. What had happened, it's this thing called musthing, M-U-S-T-H.
So already pretty crazy, right? Just moving these elephants without kind of the big bulls, the dads around. And granted, this is elephants, not people, but you know they got super violent and just out of control. And the interesting thing here is too, this is done by people who like manage these animals for a living, and even they didn't expect this. So kind of caught them off guard. Hang on to this. This next piece is huge.
They were in musts, and this is they're looking to mate. And there weren't any women around that they could mate with. Now, this is typically tamped down by the bull males.
Yeah, dad's home.
Dad's home. So they worked bigger harnesses, brought the bull elephants over. Immediately, all of the antisocial behavior stopped, right? So fatherlessness. Fatherlessness is the real inequality.
Of course.
Okay, so obviously, that's an example with elephants. Chris is about to really bring this home now with how it affects us as a society. But that example is pretty interesting for us to consider, how just the presence of the bulls being back among the herd instantly stopped this problematic behavior. So listen to these stats from Chris. This is really the alarming piece here. And then we're going to really kind of summarize this at the end and talk about what we can do about it.
Boys who grow up apart from their biological father are 2 times more likely to end up in jail or prison by age 30. Fatherlessness is a better predictor of growing up in incarceration than being poor or their race.
So I'm going to just pause on that one. There's all these stats out here. There's all these problems with the country, or this race or this group or that, and this goes to show that none of that actually matters. The most important thing is a father in the home? Is there a father figure to raise these children? So you can try and go down all these, identity politics types of conversations. And honestly, all of that is wasted effort. Families need to be together, period. Here's some more stats that are just absolutely alarming.
Young men are more likely to end up in jail or prison than they are to complete college if they grow up in any non-intact home. Boys in fatherless homes are twice as likely to grow up with depression. Girls in fatherless homes are 10 times as likely to grow up with depression. So a big question there is this generation really depressed, or did they just grow up without dad?
So is this generation truly depressed, or did they just grow up without dad? Okay, I'm going to speak just from a personal point of view here to help paint this picture a little bit further. I'm 37 as of this recording. I'm a millennial. I remember growing up being told by the older generations, specifically the baby boomers, that, my generation is weak, we're entitled, we're all these, we're a bunch of losers, we're stuck on video games and the internet and things like that. And there's probably some truth to that. There's absolutely some truth to the fact that my generation was enamored by the internet and kind of started living inward lives as opposed to traditional kind of outside the home lives that our parents did. But that said, our generation was also the first one to have the highest rates of divorce in this country, right? It's not even close. And a lot of these problems, the data has now, over my lifetime been accumulated by all these different groups and studies that without a father present, it is just going to cause disaster. So what do we do about this today? All right, this is where I want to encourage everyone, regardless of whether you're a father or maybe you're just a guy listening to this, you can play a role in fixing this problem. Okay, number one, you can get involved in a local community, something, right? Help coach a sports team, volunteer at a church, somewhere where you can interact with young children, boys and girls, to be that positive male role model in their lives. You don't have to be a dad to make a difference, okay? So if you're listening to this and thinking, well, I don't have kids, how does this apply to me? I would argue you can still play a huge role in this because a lot of these kids do come from broken homes. So if you are a positive example, it may not be ideal, it may not solve the whole problem, but it's going to make a big impact. And just one more personal anecdotal, story there. My wife's dad, not a good guy, really, wasn't around in the way that he needed to be for her, but her uncle was a really good man, right? He's a very good family man, really, really good guy. And she knew what to look for and kind of what a man should be like based off his example. So again, not as ideal because obviously he didn't live with her and things like that, but it was still at least something for her to latch onto. So you can play a part, whoever you are listening to this, okay? If you are a man listening to this, you can make a difference in our generation. Now, for those of you who do have kids, if you are a father listening to this, your number one job is to stay present, be intentional, be involved, build relationship with your kids. Even if you are, not the best in the world, or your marriage isn't the best in the world, fight for it, maintain it, because an intact home is the number one predictor of your children's future success, okay? If you do nothing else in life but hold your family together, you will have succeeded. By the numbers, you will have given your kids a higher opportunity to have a good life than basically any other predictor, okay? So that's what we need to bring back. We need to bring back the focus on our family and stop worrying about all this outward stuff. Be involved with your kids, strengthen your marriage, fight for your marriage, and hold your family together, all right? This is the number one problem in our country, is all of these fatherless homes, and it's causing depression, anxiety, lack of identity, purposelessness. Like, kids today who don't have a dad around are just set up for failure. So fight for that. Don't give up. I want to encourage you, but if you haven't checked out this whole episode, I'm going to have a link for it in the description. Chris is a very wise guy, right? He raised a lot of really good points in this episode about where we've gone wrong as a society, what modern kind of problems are existing that are making it so hard for young men to succeed and to raise their families. So if you're wanting to maybe learn more about this, I recommend you highly check out this episode. This isn't a political thing here. Whether you like Tucker or not, ignore that. Just listen to what Chris says. He raised a really good set of points here across this episode that should at least get you thinking about maybe how you can play a different role. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Really love this clip. I wanted to cover it because there's just so much value in this idea of really fighting for keeping our families together. And I know you're struggling out there. It's really tough. There's a lot of things working against the modern man and especially families right now. Your effort will not be in vain, okay? Don't give up. We see you, dads. We love you. We support you. And that's why we're here for this channel. If you need help, let us know in the comments what's going on. Maybe we've got some advice for you. Maybe the rest of the community will too. And if you haven't checked out this episode, I highly recommend you do. We'll see you in the next one.